being killed, so there's nobody complaining at home. We have unnecessarily killed 600,000 Ukrainian kids and about 300,000 Russians, and that's not good for anybody. And President Trump looks at this and says, it's, war. I love what he said on the Rogan interview. He said that when he was talking, all the liberals and all the Democrats said, oh, he loves dictators because he went and talked to Putin. And he went and talked to Kim Jong-il. Oh, he loves dictators. No, he did what my uncle wanted to do, which is to talk to Khrushchev, which is that my uncle installed a hotline in the White House. Oh, he could talk directly to Khrushchev. And in our home in Hyannisport, there was a hotline. The wires are still sticking out of the wall. My brother now owns that house. Because he wanted to be able to pick up the phone and talk directly to Khrushchev. He said, if you want to prevent war, you have to understand your adversary's point of view. We have a White House now that won't even talk to Putin. We're sponsoring this war in Ukraine. Zelensky's passed a law in Ukraine that makes it illegal to even negotiate with Russia. Oh, this is not, and Trump looks at this and he says, this doesn't make any sense. He said to Kim Jong-il, why are you building all these nuclear weapons? Let's get together and let's build condos. That's what he said to him. Oh, and that's the way he thinks, and that's good for our country. Let's build things that actually create GDP and add to GDP. That's how we're gonna get out of this $36 trillion debt, not by cutting. We need to do that too, but it's too big to cut our way out of. We need to actually grow our GDP and make the debt comparatively smaller. And we need a president who's going to put American first, who's going to put people before their party, who's going to put patriotism before their party, and who's actually going to care about the American people and rebuild the American middle class, which is really the source of our strength in this country.
Amen. Well, we are coming to the end of our phenomenal program this afternoon, and we only have 10 days left to save America. So I would like to give each one of you an opportunity to give a closing message to the voters here today, all across North Carolina and across the country, about what's at stake and how to get out the vote. Tulsi?
I think you're here today because you understand how high the stakes are in this election. I appreciate all of you taking your time out of a Saturday afternoon to be here. I serve in the U.S. Army Reserve. I'm a lieutenant colonel. I was at Fort Bragg for a few years. I have some of my friends who I served with here today. I'll be headed out to my reserve duty here later next week, but it's important to recognize it's something I feel very viscerally, but for all of us, no matter your background or where you live, that when you hear about what's happening, just recognize this is about us. This is about us. This isn't about something that's happening just in Washington. It's not about something that's happening in some foreign country or some other part of the world that has no impact on our everyday lives. This election is about us. It's about we the people. It's about our ability to live in a truly free and peaceful and prosperous society. You know, we've talked a lot about war and peace today because it is the most important responsibility that a president has, is to serve as commander-in-chief. It's the job that only the president has to do. When we talk about education reform and healthcare reform and all of these different policies, all of that has to be done with the president in conjunction with Congress passing legislation. Obviously, some changes can be done through executive order, but the president is solely the single person serving as commander-in-chief. When we look at the decisions that are being made, and we look at what's happening in the world, you turn on the news, you scroll through headlines, you look through social media, you can understand what the cost and consequences are. If we hope to be able to live ourselves in a country where free speech is celebrated and where we have confidence that it will be protected by those in office who swear an oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, vote for Donald Trump. if we have hope, if we are to have hope that we have a government that is truly of, by, and for the people, we'll vote for Donald Trump. And if we have hope that we can once again be that shining city on a hill, that beacon of freedom and peace and prosperity for our country, not only for us in our lives as we are today, but for those who will come after us, the changes that we will bring under President Trump's leadership to this government will have a lasting impact, not just for us, but for those who will come after, which is why I'm here encouraging you not only to vote for Donald Trump, but I want to ask you, before you go to sleep tonight, take a moment to think about at least 10 people in your lives. 10 people in your lives, friends, coworkers, family, people at school, whoever it may be, who may not know how they're going to vote in this election. Or maybe they've already decided they're going to vote for Donald Trump. Write down 10 names in your life. You take responsibility for making sure those 10 people and yourself go out and cast their vote for Donald Trump, because that's what it's going to take to win this election. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Tulsi. When President Trump called me about 3 hours after his shooting in Butler, and I spent about a half an hour on the phone with him then, and he asked to meet with me, and I went and met with him the next day in Minneapolis. And we talked then for about 2 hours on several occasions afterward, in person and over the phone. And the things that he said to me transformed me and transformed my attitude about him and about our election. He said, let's look at the things that we agree on, and let's agree to disagree on the stuff that we don't agree on. But the most important things, are ending the war machine and our addiction to foreign wars, ending the censorship and surveillance state in our country, and then making America healthy again. And all of these issues are existential to America, to the American experience, and to this extraordinary experiment that our country has made with self-governance, with democracy, and modeling that democracy around the globe. But there's nothing to me that's more existential than our public health. When my uncle was president, 6% of Americans had chronic disease, and we spent 0 on chronic disease. Today, 60% of Americans have chronic disease, and it's existential. 77% of American kids cannot qualify for military service today because of chronic disease diagnoses. We spent $4.3 trillion from 0 when my uncle was president and I was a 10-year-old boy, to $4.3 trillion, which is 5 times our military budget. And it's the only thing that is climbing exponentially. And it is going to kill us. And we have to end it. And part of that is because we have 1,000 chemicals in our food that are illegal in other countries. But the real cause is corruption. And it's the corruption and the capture of these agencies by the industries that they're supposed to regulate. And I don't know of any other politician who would be willing to stand up to big pharma and big food and big agriculture. But this is a president who's willing to do that. And I see a lot of kids in this audience, and I know a lot of you have kids. Raise your hand if you know a child who's affected by chronic disease. So it's most of the people in this room and most Americans, and that's not normal. If you asked that to a crowd when I was a kid, nobody would raise their hand. It is absolutely existential to our country. And we need to fix it. We can fix it very fast, but you need to get me and Tulsi into Washington, D.C. And the only way that's going to happen is if you vote for Donald Trump. Don't you want to make America healthy again? And don't you want to end the war machine? And don't you want to rebuild the American middle class? Then go to the polls and vote this election day. Thank you all very, very much for coming out on a Saturday.
And I'm back with the beaver hats and Ben Davis slacks. 30 pack the stroll. 30 pack
Thanks so much for being here, and please join me in thanking these two American heroes, Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. God bless you, God bless North Carolina, God bless the United States of America. Let's go win this thing.
7 times. It's still the ill that want to see us rise. I guess because the